Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my kitchen. In today's What's for Dinner video, I'll be sharing with you what meals we had this past week. Our dinners were easy to make, budget friendly, and delicious. So if you're looking for some weeknight meal ideas for your family, just keep watching. For dinner this first night, we ended up doing a yo-yo night, or you're on your own. Some people call this fend for yourself or figure it out yourself. Basically, just everybody figures out what they're going to make for dinner and they make it. So here is what we had. First up for the ramen. Gary was going to make himself ramen, but I had seen an Instagram reel of a gentleman making ramen, and I thought Gary would like it, so I asked him if I could make it for him. So I did that, and he really enjoyed it. Basically, I'll link the Instagram reel down below for you, but basically you just cook the noodles according to the package instructions, set them to the side in a skillet. You heat up a little bit of oil, add some minced garlic, some red pepper flakes, little soy sauce, brown sugar, and a little bit of water. And then you combine that with the noodles, cook them for a couple seconds, and then add in some eggs. And then to top it off, I added some everything but the bagel seasoning and some scallions. And Gary really enjoyed the ramen that way. And then for me, I just cooked up some of the Tyson frozen chicken strips in the air fryer and made a big salad. A big salad just sounded really good to me. And that was our dinner this night. The next day was New Year's Eve, and I didn't film me making any of the snacks, but I've shared, I think, all of them before on my channel. I'll link the videos down below. So first up, I made the veggie crescent pizza. This is like one of my favorites. I have to watch myself eating this because I could eat this whole pan by myself. Then I made bacon wrap crackers. If you've never tried these, you got to give them a try. They are addictively good. Then I made some spinach dip in a Hawaiian bread bowl. For a sweet treat, chocolate strawberries just sounded really good to me. I just took the washed strawberries and then dipped them in melting chocolate. I just got the little container that you can pop in the microwave. I got it at Walmart, but you can find it at your local grocery store. And then I laid them out on wax paper until they were dried. Next up, and I fib, I lied. I have not shared this recipe before on my channel, but I kind of wanted to make it before I shared it because I saw many different recipes and many different versions on how to make these. These are brown sugar bacon wrapped little Smokies. You just take little Smokies, pat them dry, wrap them in bacon, put them in a baking dish, sprinkle brown sugar over. Some recipes I saw use chili powder, some cayenne powder, but you basically just then bake them in the oven until the bacon is cooked all the way through and crispy to your liking. Next up, I made crock pot meatballs, and a side note, I forgot to mention this. All of the videos that I'm mentioning that I've shared this before on my channel, as well as any recipes from today's video, will be linked down in the description box below for you. But these are just meatballs with barbecue sauce, a little bit of grape jelly, and some pepper jelly, and I just cooked these on high for 2 hours. Next, I made pizza dip. Check below to see how I make that. And then I sliced up some baguette and toasted them up in the oven to dip into the pizza dip. I also decided tonight to try these garlic and herb Parmesan pita chips and the pizza dip. It was good, but I just personally prefer the baguette, but they were good. And then last but not least, I made some pigs in a blanket, just little Smokies wrapped in crescent rolls, baked, and we like to serve it with barbecue sauce. I just set out some little festive napkins and silverware, and then we snacked and watched movies. Actually, no, I lie. We actually ended up watching Unsolved Mysteries. We just kind of binge watched that. And then I have seen it on Pinterest and Instagram to do what they call barcuterie boards, little charcuterie boards for dogs. And I've been meaning to do it for Happy and Pepper and just haven't. And I mentioned it to Gary a couple weeks ago, and he was like, hey, let's do that for New Year's. So I made them a little barcuterie board. I just used things that I had on hand. I just went through the pantry and fridge, and they loved it. Pepper at first was a little apprehensive. He kind of didn't know what to think about it, and we we had to pull little Chunker Happy back and let Pepper have an opportunity to enjoy the charcuterie board without Happy, but they enjoyed it. And so we had a nice New Year's Eve, just, nothing big, just hanging out with my boys and having a good time. So I hope if you all, did anything for New Year's Eve, or whether or not you went out or stayed home or whatever you did, I hope that you had a great New Year's, and I hope that the upcoming year is fantastic. The next day was New Year's Day, and I know across the country of the United States and then around the world, there are many, many different traditions for New Year's Day and New Year's Eve. you know, from things that you do and things that you eat. When I was growing up, we didn't really do anything traditional for New Year's, but a few years ago, I decided I wanted to start that with Gary and I to have like that traditional Southern New Year's Day dinner. And so here's what I'm going to make tonight. First up, for the cornbread, which cornbread, you know, it's a staple in Southern cuisine, but it is supposed to symbolize gold, you know, because of the golden color of the cornbread. And I'm just keeping it easy tonight. I'm making this Famous Dave's cornbread mix, just cooking it up according to the package instructions. And if you like sweet cornbread, this is a good cornbread. It's so good. Next up, I'm going to make a pork tenderloin. So I just got this at Kroger. This was the lemon and garlic herb. I'm just going to sear it up in the skillet, and pork symbolizes prosperity, and it also symbolizes like progress, good progress in the year ahead. So like I said, I'm just searing this in a little bit of oil. Once I got it seared on all sides, I popped it into a baking dish and then baked it in the oven at, I want to say it was 400 degrees for, I mean, how long you bake it really depends on how thick your pork is and whether or not you like any pink in it. You just want to make sure that you cook it until it's at least 145 degrees internal temperature, and then cover it loosely with foil and let it rest for about 10 minutes before you slice into it. I decided kind of last minute to make some kind of sauce for this. So I was looking on Pinterest. I wanted something easy, not really complicated. And I found this recipe using ingredients I already had on hand. So I thought, perfect. I'll link the recipe down in the description box below for you. I've got my skillet over about medium heat. I added some heavy whipping cream to it. And then I'm going to add in some Dijon mustard. I believe the recipe called for Dijon mustard and whole grain mustard, which I didn't have, so I just used twice the amount of Dijon mustard. Now, obviously, with this only being a couple of ingredients and mustards being one of them, you kind of have to like mustard to make this sauce. But I will say, just the sauce by itself, when I tasted it, I was like, ooh, yeah, that's a little mustardy. But on the pork, it was perfection. So once I've added the Dijon, I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper, and then I just simmered that for a couple minutes until the cream was thickened. And then at that point, I added in some herbs, which I happened to actually, I like never have fresh herbs on hand, but I actually happened to have them on hand today. I had some chives and parsley, so I just chopped those up, added them to the sauce, give it a taste, adjust the seasoning to your taste. And like I said, this was so good on that pork. All right, next up. I know, born and raised in the South, but I have a confession to make, y'all. I've never made or let alone even had Hoppin John. I know, please don't take my Southern card away. I rectified that. I made it. It was so delicious. And Gary loved this, y'all. He kept raving about it. He loved this, and it was good. It was from iHeart Recipes. I'll link it down below, and it was such an easy recipe. Now, in this skillet, it's over a medium heat. I added some bacon that I'd chopped up. I cooked the bacon until it was crisp. I'm going to add in some diced onions. And you guys, bacon and onions cooking together smells so good. Next up, Rosie, that's iHeart Recipes, she suggested using frozen collard greens, which, to be quite honest with you, I didn't even know that they made frozen collard greens, but I will definitely use these more often. This was such a great way to add greens without, you know, the long amount of time that it takes to cook them. So I added the greens, I gave that a stir, and then you want to cook that for a few minutes until the greens are tender and your onions are tender. Once they're there, we're going to add in some cooked white rice. Now, I'm just using the microwave in a pouch just to make it easy this night, but this would be a great way to use up leftover rice. So I'm going to give the rice a good stir. Then we're going to add in our black-eyed peas, and these are canned. I drained and rinsed them, and I'm going to give those a stir. And the greens in this, the collard greens, that represents obviously green, the color of money, wealth. And then the black-eyed peas are, again, another symbol of prosperity. People say that they look like pennies, so another wealth. And then we're doubling up on the pork with the bacon in here. Next, we're going to season this. Seasonings are simple, just a little salt, little pepper, and a little bit of garlic powder. But of course, you can use whatever seasonings you like. So here is the finished Hoppin John. And like I said, simple ingredients, but we really liked this. Here are the plates. So we've got some of the sliced pork tenderloin, some of that cream mustard sauce, and then I had some of the leftover chopped parsley and chives, so I'll just sprinkle that on top as a little garnish. We've got some of the Hoppin John and the cornbread with butter, and you guys, we loved this dinner. It was so good. That's one of the things, I know I've mentioned this before on my channel, but that's one of the things that I love about Southern cooking, about different cuisines in general, but specifically Southern cuisine, is that you can take, you know, inexpensive ingredients, not a lot of ingredients, but just seasoned well and cooked well, and it is so, so good. Dinner the next night, I didn't get pictures of, but you've already seen what we had. We just had leftovers. I had leftovers from New Year's Eve. Gary ate some of the New Year's Eve leftovers, and then he also had some of the leftover Hoppin John from our New Year's Day. The next day was the day before my actual birthday, and so we went over to my mom and dad's house to have a family birthday dinner. And I've explained this before, but just in case you're new to my channel, our rule is for your birthday, you either can pick where you want to go to eat, or you can pick my, mom or dad to make whatever you want. And I had kind of an odd craving. First, I had KFC fried chicken that I wanted. So we had the KFC fried chicken, and then I really wanted hush puppies and white beans, which might sound weird, but there's a restaurant in the Nashville area called Uncle Bud's. And they don't have a lot of locations left anymore, but when you would go, and I haven't been in years, so it may still be the same way, but when you used to go and you sat down at the table, they would bring you white beans, hush puppies, and then all the fixings, so like chow chow, onions, and that's what I was craving. So my sweet mom and dad ordered hush puppies directly from that restaurant, and then my mom made some white beans. I requested mashed potatoes and macaroni and cheese, so mom made that as well. And dinner was so good. Another simple dinner, but it was delicious. So, so yummy. And then for my birthday cake, I really wanted a birthday cake from this bakery in town, but they closed a couple years ago, and I was so bummed. But my mom said, hey, what about a Publix cake? Because Publix cakes, y'all, if you've never gotten a cake from Publix, they're actually really, really good, and they're not crazy expensive. So we got their super funfetti, I say we, mom and dad got me the super funfetti cake and some ice cream, and that cake was good. It was just like it was from that bakery that I remember. It was delicious. The next day was my actual birthday, and we had planned on going to like a really nice steakhouse dinner and dressing up and all that jazz, but I actually wasn't feeling great this day. My sinuses were really crazy and out of control, so we ended up just doing low-key and ran to a local mom and pop Italian restaurant here in town. We started out with their bruschetta. That was my pick. It had goat cheese and fig jam, prosciutto, balsamic glaze. So yummy. And then for my entree, I got one of their specials. I've mentioned before on my channel that Carrabba's used to have a seafood cannelloni, and it was my absolute favorite thing, but they took it off the menu years ago. And I have like a copycat recipe I've made that I make from time to time. I've shared it before on my channel. I'll link it down below. But they had a special this night of seafood cannelloni, and I was like, yes, yes, yes. What a better birthday present. So I got that. It had shrimp and crab and scallops on the inside. And then for Gary's entree, he got their lobster pasta. And then for dessert, we got the creme brulee. And they were doing a special creme brulee. It had pieces of grilled pineapple in it, which I've never had before, but it was really, really delicious. We had a really nice birthday. My husband and my family and friends and everyone made it a really great birthday. And I appreciate every one of you all who, have sent me birthday wishes. I really, really appreciate it. All right, and that is it for today's video. I know there wasn't a lot of cooking in this video. Like I said, this was a little unusual again because of the holidays and my birthday and all of that. But hopefully you still got some dinner ideas from it. The next what's for dinner video also might be a little unusual. Gary and I are going to go out of town for a few days. But then after that, usual back to cooking pretty much every night of the week, home cooked meals, so stay tuned for that. But again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you liked this video and got some ideas from it. If you did, hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.